was off. Yeah, so a little bit about me. Microsoft Teams MVP and Principal Architect at LoopUp. Sorry about this. LoopUp are Operator Connect and Darun as a service provider. Also just started a podcast with Ben Lee. We're talking 365 Explained, where we effectively take a topic from around the M365 ecosystem and try and break it down and explain it as best as we possibly can. You can find that on YouTube and podcast platforms. If you're looking for my content in particular, don't know why you would, LinkedIn articles are probably the best place where I'll show up the most, where I'm doing Teams phone content weekly or as much as I can. Awesome. So we'll jump straight in. First thing to think about during any sort of rollout with Microsoft Teams is your connectivity choice to go out to the PSTN and kind of which option to use when. We're going to start off, first of all, by talking around the new CLID on the block, or it's been out for a little bit now, but it is the newest version, and that's Teams Phone Mobile. Effectively, this is having SIM-enabled phone numbers directly in Microsoft Teams, so you can have mobile numbers given to your users. There's no specific kind of extra add-on or anything that you need to add in, to get Teams Phone working. You just need to make sure that, you choose one of the Teams Phone mobile operators in the Teams Admin Center, and they'll effectively upload those, very similar to Operator Connect, directly into your Teams Admin Center. A couple of cool things that you'll get from using Teams Phone Mobile are the ability to uplift calls, so they're Teams calls. You're in Teams and you want to pass those up to the native dialer on your mobile phone. You can do that. Also shared history as well between both your native dialer calls and Teams calls. That's all going to be a bit more cohesive and joined up. The ability to have mobile numbers in call queues. We've had it a couple of times with customers where they want to give a mobile phone out, with a mobile number to support staff, something like that or whatever. So you can kind of have those numbers inside of your call queues. It's kind of a great choice for, a mobile first workforce, if that's what you have, or if that's kind of, what you're looking to achieve with BSN connectivity type. Available across 11 countries for Teams Phone Mobile. We currently have 9 providers, but you could tell by looking at that provider list, it's your big guys, You've got like Rogers in Canada, Vodafone, Bell, Deutsche Telekom, that sort of thing. We are expecting more operators and more markets in the future. We don't know how quick. We actually just got a couple more added recently to bring us up to that 9 provider list. So it is happening slowly. And we just expect that to grow as well. Next, we have calling plans. This is effectively your go to Microsoft and get everything from them option. No on-premises equipment is required with calling plans or anything like that. You can get domestic and international calling plans with directly from Microsoft, and there are some pay-as-you-go licensing models you can use. Next up, call queues. Calls are in your organization. Vendor routing, everybody, all the agents, all at once. Well, that's it from them. So down the list, outbound Robin, all queues as well. So if you want to do like calling IDs, dial out. Welcome messages can be added to the protocol queues and go to arrangements. New callback then we have some exception handling. So if you can wait all for it available. It wouldn't be at all but effectively that is all using the back end so we can manage running that call queue. It's team intervention, but it's been seen by some people who can contact centers we have out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll start from the beginning, guys, okay? Okay. Next, we have within the Queues app, one feature that's a big feature we've been waiting for a while, or that's been seen to, kind of plug a gap that's missing, is the ability for whisper, barge, takeover, that sort of thing in a call queue. To use this functionality, you do have to have the Queues app, so it's not right now, it's not anything like that. It doesn't need to be done via the Queues app. But doing things like allowing supervisors to monitor calls, so listening to the conversation, whisper, so just one side of the conversation can hear it being the agent, barge into a call, and also take over a call and kick the agent out. Little demo of that if you've not seen it. Hopefully that plays. Yeah, there we go. But you can see, so we're in the Queues app now, we're monitoring this particular agent, so we can see we're now in the call, and we can escalate that from monitoring to whisper, and then we can choose to barge, take over, do other things from there as well. Awesome. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the SIP gateway. So very simply put, SIP gateway enables integrations of SIP devices directly into Microsoft Teams. Big varied list of compatible devices. So much so you could probably do a whole talk around the SIP gateway. So have a check on the Microsoft documentation around what devices are compatible. Phones, ATAs, intercoms, pagers, that sort of thing. One thing to bear in mind, it's a voice workload SIP gateway. So things like fax, things like video, doorbells, that sort of thing, don't work with the SIP gateway. just yet. Next, it's not a talk around Microsoft recently if you've not mentioned Copilot. Oh. So Copilot is in Microsoft Teams. I don't know what's going on. Copilot is in Microsoft Teams Phone, and one thing that's important to understand with this around Copilot is, if you're using Copilot and you're thinking, it's that one. You're probably, taking data flows from emails or, other things that you're talking through with your customer. If you're not doing that for your PSTN as well, you're potentially missing out on a complete data flow or a data set that you're not passing into your AI or using for any particular things. A couple of things, thank you, that are one that's in public preview now is the ability to, you don't have to have the recording or transcription turned on for Copilot to be able to kind of summarize and work with you in the Teams call. It used to be that you had to, have recording turned on. And then a nice one as well, coming to Teams Phone, is the public preview is in April, so anytime now, is the summarization of a call when you're transferring that call. So I've got, again, another little showcase of that. But effectively what you're doing is you're transferring a call to another user in here. The person who's doing the transfer is the one that needs the M365 Copilot license. They're generating a call transfer. So Copilot's going ahead, doing its special stuff. It's seeing what went on in the call, putting that together. You can edit this, or you can keep it, pass it on to the user, and then transfer that call. Okay, so it's just kind of, passing across context as well as you transfer in a call.
So just sent as a Teams chat.
Yeah, just a Teams chat, yeah. Awesome, so there's some of the Teams Phone features that we've mentioned. Next, I wanted to talk around administration inside your environment. So, depending on what kind of PSTN connectivity types you're going for, there may be something that you're keeping in-house if you're going with more of a direct routing solution, or if you're looking out to a provider or a third party, you may want to be asking those people questions and what sort of things they have to be able to help you administer your environment. A good one and one of an important one is a global portal. So, if you decide on calling plans or Teams Phone Mobile, your portal's the team admin center. That's kind of like, what you're going to be getting around administration tasks and reporting information, that sort of thing. With direct routing, if you're doing it yourself, then it may be something that you're building internally or you're pulling this information together. But if it's something like a direct routing as a service, or you've got a third party or a partner involved, asking them about, if they offer a portal to help you with your particular rollout. It can be invaluable to have access to some sort of portal, see a global view of, your telephony presence and what's going on. You can have the option if you want to, if you've got local IT, for example, you can put them in control for managing users, add moves, changes, that sort of thing. A couple of things I'd be asking for out of a global portal is number assignments. So you kind of want to see who's got what number assigned, and that's important. Things like, can I do adds, moves, and changes inside of here? If you're managing an environment, you're not going to really want to be giving Teams admin roles out to too many people. If it's just someone that's adding a number to a user, that sort of thing. Reporting capabilities, so making sure you've got access to CDRs if you want to do your own data manipulation and reporting on those calls that you've made. Things like role-based access. So if you're going to give someone access to a portal, make sure that it can be kind of, scoped down you look after this site, or you look after this country, that sort of thing, rather than just giving access to everybody to make any changes. API capabilities is another good one. So good thing to ask out of any sort of portal, and the CDR access that I mentioned. On troubleshooting tools, this is something that I wanted to mention because it's kind of new and has come to the Teams Admin Center recently. But there is now, if you're using direct routing, and this is direct routing only, you can now see the SIP call flow directly in the Teams Admin Center for a call. So that's kind of a nice tool for troubleshooting for sure. It's available up to 30 minutes after a call. So after the call's finished, if you go straight into the Teams Admin Center, it may not be there. They're saying around 30 minutes and it'll show up in there. So yeah, not massively real time or anything like that, but it's a good tool nonetheless, and it's definitely more than we've had previously. Just a couple of prereqs on this. You need to at least be a Teams admin or a Teams telephony admin to get to this report to see the SIP ladder stuff. Okay. But yeah, it's found under Teams Admin Center usage reports, the PSTN usage report, which is no longer in preview because that's been in preview for so long. And then on the left-hand side, you choose your call and then press the SIP call flow. Another tool, one thing we would usually talk about is, if you're an Operator Connect customer, one positive for you is your numbers show up in the Teams Admin Center. It used to be that if you were on direct routing, that was never the case. You had to figure out those numbers somewhere else, SharePoint, Excel, whatever, portal, something. But now we have the number inventory service. So what you can do is you can upload numbers directly to the Teams Admin Center. Any number that's assigned direct routing and assigned to a user will show up in the Teams Admin Center now. But I would recommend also put your unassigned numbers in there as well. Just for the sole reason of you have all your number ranges, you have it all in the Teams Admin Center now. And what it will do for you is other places around the Teams Admin Center will start to populate those numbers. Okay, so you can see from the drop down, we've got direct routing and we can type a number or we can choose from the drop down. So there's some of the admin tools. And then we'll come on to talking around some of the pitfalls to specifically avoid during your rollout. So here are the kind of 5 that we'll mention today. Finding the right partner, finding your tap champions or your team's champions, having a little talk around porting and numbers, checking business needs internally, and then we'll talk a little bit about proof of concepts. So first of all, finding the right partner. Again, depending on your PSTN rollout, if you want to take it in-house and do everything yourself, you may not need a partner. You can go out and find your own carriers and plug them into your own certified SPCs and do it all yourself. Or, if you just need some help with rolling call plans out or Operator Connect, making sure that you're choosing the right partner to help is good. Coverage can be a key one, like we mentioned before. So if you do want to kind of reduce the number of providers that you're using or the number of carriers that you're using, coverage is a good first thing to look at to be able to eliminate some other providers from your list. Some services that they can offer or something you should expect from these providers, a good reputation, making sure that case studies, that sort of thing, making sure that they're a good reputable company to work with. Do they have number porting knowledge? Can you go with them and ask about I need to port these 15 numbers in Taiwan, is that possible? That sort of thing. Do they have any sort of professional services offering? So are they just kind of going to just throw the numbers into your tenant and say goodbye, good luck, carry on? Or if you need that little bit more of consulting and guidance, making sure that they offer that. The global portal that I mentioned before is a good thing to look for in a partner, making sure that you can, administer your environment correctly. Fax solution. So fax is a very cool thing to talk about. A lot of customers still go on about fax, to be perfectly honest. But some providers actually offer a direct fax service in their offering as well. So that's a good thing to look for. Anything sort of like integration types, like SIP services, if they got a SIP offering alongside their Teams offering, anything like that, to enable you to keep a Cisco voice gateway around for a little bit longer if you need to, something like that, is a good thing to look at. And then lastly, do they have any of that partnerships with other third parties as well around contact center, call recording, reporting, that sort of thing. Next, talking around, finding your champions. Done a lot of accelerator workshops and talking around Teams champions and that sort of thing, but it's kind of just taking that same sort of vein. And what these champions are, they're people that are internal, and they might be taking interest of moving to Teams Phone or getting away from the current environment. A couple of important things to mention. Making sure that you give them the correct tools. So if it is sort of you're looking at them to offer some sort of training or adoption, making sure that you give them the material to offer that correctly. If it is a receptionist, make sure that they've got some phones that they can have a play around with and use, and then start to show other people, that sort of thing. It's just a really good thing to help you during your rollout. When people have problems, they're probably more likely to go to someone that they know, right next to them, rather than, oh God, I need to go to the IT team and they're going to shout at me because I don't know how to do this one thing. The thing to keep in mind is after your deployments as well, they're usually quite helpful to keep around, these Teams champions, just in case they can kind of drive that adoption even more and, answer any sort of questions that might relieve some of the sort of IT burden as well that you could have. Another pitfall is around porting. I'm not sure if anybody's done any porting in the room, but it can be a complete and utter nightmare. So making sure that you understand, if you are porting in particular countries, if you can even port in those countries. The US is a good example of a country that you can do complex porting, you can do normal porting. So you've got quite a good offering in this country. It's not like that around the world. It's a lot harder in some other locations, and in some locations, because of regulation, it's going to be new numbers. So if you are going for new numbers, kind of communicating that as soon as possible to your user base to say, we are moving to Teams Phone, you're getting new numbers, and then kind of coming up with a solution for that. A couple of things that we've done, with customers that have had to go to new numbers. We can place, things like unconditional forwards on their old numbers. So with their current carriers, for 6 months, 9 months, whatever makes them feel comfortable, while they're getting their new numbers, giving their new numbers out. And then once they're happy that the new numbers are out there and propagated, they can kind of lose those old numbers with the old provider. Next, we have kind of business needs. So what I meant by this slide is making sure that you understand what your business actually needs out of Teams Phone. It's super important to understand what you currently have in your environment. Are you going to kind of take a replication approach of whatever we have right now? We'll just see if Teams Phone can do it and just move it over. Or do you want to take that more consultative approach and see, what Teams actually has on offer as far as Teams Phone and those features that I mentioned before, and upscale some of your, legacy processes and things like that, and bring them into the kind kind of Teams phone ecosystem and what that can actually do. Things like devices is an important one. Making sure that you understand the sorts of devices that you're going to need, and things like common area phones, that sort of thing, and what your integration needs will be. Do you have a voice gateway that's sitting around that is powering some old phones that you can't get rid of just now? What are you going to do with that? That sort of thing. And then lastly, on the pitfalls, we have proof of concept. Some people will shy away from doing proof of concepts. I wouldn't necessarily shy away, especially if it's you're doing a global rollout. Sat made a perfect analogy in his talk before. If you're going to do a proof of concept, don't do a proof of concept for calling plans if you're then going to go and roll out direct routing. Perfectly put. You should be proving the concept of what you actually want to roll out. One thing that's really key in proof of concepts is making sure that you understand your success criteria. So what do you want to get out of the proof of concept? Is it, I want to put this provider through its paces for Operator Connect, or I just want to check the call quality, or is it, I've not actually seen Teams phone at all, so I want to, have a play, create some call queues, create some auto attendance, that sort of thing. If depending on what type of deployment you are doing, network understanding sessions are a really good one, and that'll kind of feed into success criteria, that sort of thing, making sure you understand what Microsoft's best practices are for a rollout. Any sort of midpoint as well throughout a proof of concept. I always recommend having a feedback call. You probably wouldn't be surprised with the amount of proof of concepts we've done. It's a month long. You get to week 2, or halfway through the proof of concept, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've not done anything," and then they start doing the testing that they need to do. So that feedback call, that midpoint call, is really important. Conversely, maybe you hit that midpoint call, and they go, "We're having a terrible time," and that's your time as a someone that's rolling out to try and help them and guide them where possible. Some sort of reviews on things like call quality dashboard or call analytics, giving feedback depending on what your success criteria was. If it was based on call quality, it's really important that you actually go in, dig into that data and make sure that you're happy with it. And then finally, to round off that proof of concept, you have a review call just to make sure that you've hit your success criteria, you've not hit your success criteria, and then kind of where to go from there. So that's a roundup of some of those pitfalls to avoid during a rollout. Just key things, check out those porting times, because that's one that will really kind of help shape what your rollout actually is. If it takes 6 months to port in a particular country, and then you're waiting that till the end, you're going to add another 6 months onto your rollout, where you can really kind of align them and make sure that it's working well. Last little section I wanted to talk about was around third-party add-ons. So making sure that this is coming into that business needs that we mentioned before. If you do have any of these sorts of business needs inside your organization or inside your customer's organization, just to make sure that you understand what's out there and what can be provided. So we'll start a little bit, we'll talk around contact centers first of all. Won't go into this too much, but there's essentially, with contact centers for Microsoft Teams, you have 3 versions of what ISVs can offer. You have a connect model, an extend model, and a power model. This is the connect model. It's going to use certified SPCs via direct routing to get out to that Teams phone infrastructure. You can see down at the bottom, the blue box, that's your kind of contact center. And what you'll see tromboning of calls between Teams, and the SPC and the contact center as it comes in, and the contact center does what it needs to do to the call before it then goes back out. Some pros and cons on both sides for a connect model. Some people believe that you have more control over the call in this sort of scenario. There's also an optional use for Teams Graph APIs. With the Connect model, you don't have to go and use those in order to deliver any sort of particular features in Teams. Next, we have the Extend model. This is the one that you'll see out there with people like Landis or Luware, that sort of thing using. It's a common model, and effectively, what you're using with the Extend model is you're using the Teams client platform much more, and you're using those Graph APIs and Cloud Communication APIs to handle the call, manipulate the call, and do the actual things that you need within the contact center. So in these types of contact centers, Teams is going to be your primary calling agent. So the endpoint that the calls are coming to are going to be Teams users. And then lastly, this is new. Well, I mean, Power's been around as coming soon in the documentation for a long time, but we got the Teams Phone extensibility that got announced at Enterprise Connect. But this is effectively using Azure communication services on the back end. So the same things that Teams is actually using on the back end to manipulate calls, make calls, do all the things that Teams does. Now that's slightly been opened up, and ISVs are able to jump in and create their own contact centers built on that connectivity and Azure communication services. There were 7 partners that were released or announced with the actual release of Power or Teams Phone extensibility. One of those that's not on there is actually the Dynamics Contact Center as well, so technically 8. But yeah, definitely go out and have a chat to any of these if you are interested in that Power model. Awesome. Next we have, yeah? Yeah, it's a really good question. So question around, would you kind of recommend going straight into Power right now or looking at those capabilities compared to the other two, being Connect and Extend? Power is the new kid on the block. It's the thing that Microsoft are pushing a lot of their time and effort into. But right now, Extend still has a wider feature set compared to Power. We're basically in a strange stage now where we have a big long list of features that Extend contact centers can do. Power's just come out, so now we're waiting for Power to catch up to be able to offer the same sort of thing that the Extend models can. After chatting with some of the guys like Landis, the good thing that they're doing is you can do Extend and Power side by side. So it's not an all or nothing. You have to go for one or the other. You can kind of have both. And if you want to use some of the AI services that the Power model offers, you can kind of have one service, turn that on, and use that Power capability. But you can still use the Extend model for other queues. Next, reporting. So there are some inbuilt reporting available from Microsoft. You've got the usage reports, you've got the auto-attendant or call queue Power BI reports, that sort of thing. I mentioned the queues app reporting before. So there are some sort of native options that you can have for reporting. Whether that's going to give you exactly what you need, that's something you should definitely look into. But if not, if you're looking for something more like, full end-to-end reporting, there are a couple of third parties out there, Code being one of them that I've worked with, or like Tollring, that sort of thing that will offer more reporting capabilities based on what you can get natively. And then lastly, call recording. So, call recording is one of those things you either need it or you don't. It's not a very sexy thing to talk about, to be perfectly honest. But, big thing is if you're after compliance recording, so you need something that's going to record, on a policy based or that sort of thing. You've got regulations to adhere to, like HIPAA or data. Then having a look at one of the providers like Oak or Call Cabinet, that sort of thing. They can offer call recording for your team's users. Also look at what kind of sentimental analysis that they can offer. So, if they got any sort of AI that can help, checking recordings and looking at sentimental analysis, that sort of thing, to help you out. Awesome. So that was a kind of roundup of third parties and some of the pitfalls to avoid. That's basically it for the talk. Any particular questions or anything anybody would want to go through? The end of the day, I completely understand. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We do have a little giveaway if you want to stick around. So let's go straight into that. Give it a little scan if you want to be on the giveaway, or go to crowdparty.app, put the code in, and whoever wins, we have some, thanks to Logitech, some wireless earbuds. Yeah, I think so. Made for iPhone/iPad. Let's say that. True. Anybody else? No? Anyone else? No? Oh. Okay. Should have gone for like 15-minute timer, shouldn't I? Is it going to choose someone? Okay. Mark. Congratulations. Thank you very much, everyone. If you want to come around and have a chat, I'll be around for a little bit.